Very well, thank you, Lisa. It's nice to see you again.
Lovely to see you. Hey, so today we've decided, following on from our last session, which was about a difficult, challenging, fictitious mediation where the parties were very, very far apart, we've decided to talk about challenges for the mediator in maintaining impartiality and just a bit about theory of impartiality, what is impartiality for mediators, and some practical guidance on how to maintain impartiality during a mediation. So first up, I really value your insights into what impartiality is to you, Judy.
Well, it is one of the underlying principles of mediation that the mediator doesn't have a vested interest in the outcome. The interest is in assisting parties to reach a decision that meets both of their needs. So it's really important that there's a recognition that mediation's not a fact-finding process. The mediator never knows who is right or who is wrong. But is there to ensure that what is important to each party is heard by the other, and that they learn to understand each other better. That's the focus. So the impartiality is maintained throughout the mediation because each party needs to know that they have been treated fairly and in a balanced way.
I was reflecting earlier about when I was lawyering, a mediation experience that I had, and I'm sure that the mediator was impartial. But during a private session with the party that I was with, the mediator mentioned that their son was training in a particular occupation and wanted to work for the company that was the other party. And we were sitting in our private session feeling a little bit alarmed that perhaps the mediator wasn't as impartial as we had hoped. When do you think that impartiality starts in regard to mediation?
I think the moment the mediator becomes aware that they are going to be helping these particular parties, they need to look at their personal interest and declare any conflict of interest or disclose any conflict of interest. And, when there's a personal interest such as that, it's probably a good idea to disclose that right at the very beginning to ensure both parties are aware of it up front and can make a decision as to whether they're comfortable to continue. That can be taken to extremes. I mean, sometimes you mediate with maybe your own bank, and whether that is enough of a personal interest to declare it. I think it's the proximity of your or the strength of your attachment to the organisation that's important. But that's an upfront way that both parties know. It's a transparent way to ensure that both parties are aware of what could be a personal interest. So right at the very beginning, that's when impartiality starts.
One thing that can help build trust in your impartiality is during your opening statement, your mediator's statement, to say, "I am impartial, and I'm not on your side, and I'm not on your side either. I'm the guardian, kaitiaki of the process, and I am here to make sure that you have a really good conversation today and hopefully support you to an outcome. And if you think that I am less than impartial, please let me know and we can have a discussion about that." So just really calling it and giving the parties some empowerment so that they can ask the question if they do have any concerns.
Absolutely. And then throughout the process, you're working in a way to ensure that the parties know they're being treated fairly. Through the parties' opening statements and joint discussions, the mediator needs to give equal time to each party. They need to be careful not to be seen to be in agreement with one party or the other, or to be overly sympathetic with one party the other.
Mm,
While it's important to show empathy, that
mm,
needs to be balanced between both parties, and
mm,
empathy is different from sympathy.
mm,
Um, Giving people the same amount of time to discuss, the same opportunities to have a break and reflect on what they've heard, the
mm,
same platform, I guess, in which they can discuss the issues and make sure that they feel heard.
mm,
That starts at the joint discussions. If there's private discussions, you're maintaining, you're not buying into one party's view over the other. You're maintaining the respect for each party in each room.
mm,
Um, you're not adding your judgment to the issues. You're not making suggestions or um, saying what you would do in a similar situation
for
or
sure.
imposing your
Words matter.
views.
Words
Yes,
really
words
matter.
do
So
matter. That's
instead
right.
of saying in joint session, if somebody does come up with what you would think is a really good option, you could say, instead of saying, hey, that's a really good option in front of the, in front of the parties, you could say, oh, well, you've done some good thinking about that. Let's put that up as an option. So you're still encouraging the parties, but not showing any bias towards anybody's idea being better than anybody else's idea.
Yeah, or making your own suggestion. Do you think
Mm,
redundancy is an option when that
mm,
might be the furthest thing from somebody's mind
mm,
and really
mm.
skewer the thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because we don't have any, as mediators, we don't have all the facts, we don't have all the insights into the workplace or the possible options that might be available, or even what might be meaningful to either party. One party might just want to be heard. They might just want a genuine apology. They might not even want
It's
money.
That's right. That's right. And we shouldn't be, as mediators, making assumptions about
Mm,
what would be good for each party, in
mm,
your view. Mm,
mm.
that's right.
How do we manage it if one party or one party's representative has been objectively very, very challenging or has a very, very difficult approach in joint session? How do we manage that in private session with the other party without showing, without with remaining neutral and unbiased?
Well, I think by treating people with respect
Mm,
is the foundation. Difficult behaviour does present challenges because
mm,
it can obviously be difficult.
mm,
And the mediator's role is really, as I say, to maintain respect and perhaps to try and present options to the other party as the best way to deal with it and to not
mm.
take it personally and
Right.
to let it sort of not let it detract from what we were here to achieve, which is to see if we can reach agreement.
Mm,
And at the same
mm,
time, you'd be talking with the party where there is a more difficult representative. You'd be trying to encourage them to think about and focus on what would be a good outcome for
mm,
their client
mm.
and their party. Yeah,
What do you think the other party might need to be able to
that's
settle?
right.
Or what do you think the other party's reaction might be if you carried on with that particular
Approach.
line? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it can be difficult in private session. And I think another thing that I've learned over the years is really, really important to give one party or the other regular updates, so that they don't get concerned or worried that you're spending a whole bunch of time with the other party, to knock on their door and say, hey, I'm just going to be with the other party for 15 minutes and then I'll be back to you. Or if I'm going to be any longer, I'll let you know. Um, Updates like that, just so there's no paranoia or suspicion that you might be colluding with the other party.
I'm an absolute stickler for that to the extent that I'm sure
Mm.
parties got sick of me always popping my head in and saying where things were at. But it's
Mm,
so important. Otherwise, they might think that the mediator's been spending 2 hours with
mm,
the other party while that
mm,
party's actually been deliberating on their own or finding out
mm,
some information.
mm,
So my practice is to always tell each party where I am
mm,
and the time frame for that
mm.
so they know exactly what you're doing and what to expect from you.
Full transparency, yeah, because
Yeah,
whilst we might be familiar with the process, oftentimes parties aren't, and they might
that's
be sitting
right.
there thinking all sorts of things like, maybe everyone's gone home.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, well, that kind of brings us to agreements. I wonder if I could ask you your thoughts on why it's so important that the parties are empowered to make their own agreement, that the mediator kind of stays out of it, and that the parties have their own ideas that they put into effect.
Well, I think you hit on that a little earlier, that they are the ones that know the context of their world and what would
Mm,
work for them and what's important for them. And the
mm,
mediator's role is to encourage them to express that and perhaps learn to understand what that might be. So,
mm,
what is important to one person might not be so important to another, or
mm,
a
mm,
legal outcome or one
mm,
that you might achieve through the courts might
mm,
not be the thing this
mm,
particular party needs in
mm,
order to feel the matter is resolved. So
mm,
you're quite right. The mediator's role is to encourage them to come up with options that would work for them and in
mm,
their environment, and not
mm,
really to make suggestions, which assumes an outcome.
mm,
Um,
mm,
the importance of the parties agreeing an outcome and is that I think it makes the agreement more sustainable.
mm,
It meets both their needs. It's more
mm,
likely to be something that comes into effect or is given effect to, and it's
mm,
more likely to be something that has lasting effect than,
more
say,
likely to
something that
stick.
just
Mm,
likely to stick. That's
mm,
right.
mm,
And the
mm,
parties know that they both had input into making that decision.
rather than being directed or guided or
Or
wrangled into it by the mediator.
that's right. Or
Mm,
it being imposed on them. Which is, one
exactly.
of the most wonderful things about mediation is that you're not having something imposed
Mm,
on you. You are in control of
mm,
what you might agree to. That's
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Huge fan of that.
Yes,
Self-empowerment or
exactly.
party
And we
empowerment.
know that it works. Yes, we know that it's effective. Mm.
Mm. Well, thank you. This has been a really fascinating chat today with you, Judy. And so going forward, we have some different sessions planned, but I'll just over to you, Judy, and what you might like to recommend that people watching this video say or do.
Yes, well, we're a bit new to this, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, you know, what would be helpful to us is Lisa and I are really enjoying these sessions. We feel it's bringing mediation to life, and hoping it's useful to practitioners in whatever jurisdiction you're working in. That's what would make it meaningful to us. So we would love to hear your thoughts and any questions you might have. So if you have found us and are watching, and on Spotify, if you could subscribe to the channel and perhaps leave a comment or like us, it might mean that we turn up and have a wider sort of distribution, so more people learn about us. We also would love to make these conversations, which Lisa and I really enjoy together,
We do.
um, make them more meaningful, as I said. So if you've got any issues you'd like us to talk about, we're more than happy to look at that.
Yeah, we'll look at any suggestions you have for future episodes. And we do have some coming up, as I mentioned earlier. There's going to be one coming up about assisting representatives to get the most out of mediation, and also assisting anybody to get the most out of mediation is an upcoming topic. And probably another one soon on managing high emotions, whether that be the parties, the representatives, your own as a mediator, and anything in regard to that emotional facet of mediation.
Thank you. It sounds good, Lisa.
Thanks,
We look
Judy.
forward to it.
Oh, thanks for your time today, Judy.
It's been
Always a
great.
pleasure
Thank you.
talking. Okay, ka kite.
Ka kite.